In this video, I'm going to talk about a better way to wet cure concrete. My name is Tyler Lay, and I am trying to bring innovative ideas to our concrete construction methods. Curing, it's holding moisture and heat within our concrete, and it's protecting the surface. After we get done with the project, we're not done. Actually, a lot of people, they just leave it and they don't cure it. And that's a shame because it doesn't reach its potential. Some people, they'll use a curing compound on the surface, and that's better than not curing at all. But then the best of the best, they will wet cure. Wet curing is the gold standard of concrete. It is applying wet cloth to the surface and then putting some kind of covering over it to protect it. And this video is gonna focus on wet curing. So why is wet curing the gold standard? Well, it supplies moisture to the concrete. It allows any moisture that's needed for hydration to be there. It also insulates the surface and keeps the temperature constant. So is there a better way to do this? Well, right now, once we cure concrete, we use burlap. That's like cloth. We've been doing it for about 70 years. What's burlap designed for? It's designed to hold potatoes. We need a new tool. We need something that's designed to improve curing and also simplify construction. And this idea was sparked by farmers in the 1930s. When they produced concrete roads, they used fibers or their hay on the surface of the concrete to try to keep it wet. And we call this PulpCure. It's recycled newspaper, water, and some herbs and spices. It can flow like water and it can hold water a long time. It's like a spray-on wet blanket. It's not toxic, it's environmentally friendly, it's biodegradable, and you can scoop it up and reuse it at the end. You can eat it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It comes in these bales. They're about 30 pounds in size, and it looks like oatmeal on the surface of the concrete, and it keeps it wet. So how does it work? Well, you mix the solids with water and apply. This can be done with a machine or by hand. If you put plastic on top of the PulpCure after you've applied it, it will hold moisture for months. I'll talk about that coming up. And taking it off is easy. You can use it with shovels, street brooms, or other modified pieces of equipment. So to get started, you can just take a bucket, you can take a mixing vane, add all of your solid material and liquid to the bucket and mix it up, and you get your material. We also, if we're doing a bridge deck, a large structure, we use this applicator. We actually throw all the materials in here and we have vortex mixing that mixes it all up, and then we can pump it out to apply it. When we do a bridge, we'll use this curing bridge that we've modified with these other special nozzles. These nozzles have a special plate on the end. The material shoots down, hits the plate, and then sprays out over the surface like a fan. And we design it to hit with a very, very low angle of impact. Why do we do that? Because we don't want to scar the surface. Also, we'll build up this like blob, this like big goo of material, and then slowly push it out over the bridge. The blob kind of catches the PulpCure on top of it, and it creeps forward. It's pretty awesome to see in action. Here's a video from a bridge that we did in Oklahoma. Here's the nozzle spraying it out on the surface, and we're building up that blob. Once we get it going, you just push it very, very gently, and it covers the surface of the concrete. It's pretty easy to do. Here's another view from the bridge, and here it is when it's finished. Taking the material off is not hard. You just use a shovel, and you just start scooping. And you don't have to do it by hand. You can get machines to do it as well. You just want to make sure you don't scar the surface of the concrete. So how does it perform? Well, in this graph, I'm showing time on the x-axis. And the y-axis is the amount of water loss. We stored these samples at 73 degrees Fahrenheit in 40% relative humidity inside the lab. And you can see with the wet burlap that even with 2 layers of it, it only takes a few hours for it to lose all of its moisture. But if we just put water on top of the concrete, it takes about 3 days, and about ½ inch of PulpCure does the same thing in this environment. And a 1 inch of PulpCure does even better. You know, the cool thing is there's equal amounts of water in 1 inch of PulpCure as there is in a 1/2 inch of water ponding. So we'll be able to do way better than just water by itself by using the PulpCure. Here's another experiment where we went outside. On the x-axis, we have time. On the y-axis, we have the amount of water that was lost. But this time, it was summer in Oklahoma. It was 105 degrees. The wind was blowing like crazy, and it was 55% relative humidity. The wet burlap, once we put it in the sun, it only took about 5 or 6 hours for it to lose all of its moisture. If we moved it to the shade, it lasted a few hours longer. If we put plastic on top of it, it did better. It lasted about 1 day. The 1/2 inch of PulpCure in the sunlight did a little bit better than the wet burlap with plastic. But if we moved it to the shade, we got almost 60 hours of performance, and this is the best one at the bottom. This 1/2 inch of PulpCure with plastic, it didn't lose any water. It didn't lose any. We could hold water inside of the PulpCure for months. So what are the benefits? We're able to save labor. We're able to save around 30% of the cost over just using wet burlap. It's recyclable. You can scoop up the PulpCure and use it again. It's environmentally friendly, and no additional water is needed after application. What we recommend is you put it down at about a 1/2 inch, and then you put plastic on top of it. You just roll plastic out, and it'll hold water for a long time, and you don't need to add any extra. Also, you can rapidly place it on the surface, so it's going to minimize plastic shrinkage cracking. It's going to cut out interim curing steps like evaporation retarders or curing compounds. It's easy to apply and inspect, and it's wet curing. What are the drawbacks? You got to have specialized equipment. You got to build local experience and expertise in the mixing and application, and we all know that change is scary. But what's the future? We're working hard on test methods to help you design and for quality control. We're trying to empower you to better improve your curing. We want more people to use it, and we're happy to help you do that. In summary, PulpCure can rapidly and economically wet cure concrete using less labor. It's been used on 3 bridges in Oklahoma successfully and on a number of test slabs. When it's used at a 1/2 inch with plastic, it will hold the water for a long time, and it's easy to remove when it's wet. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment below. Take care. Bye.